Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
All right, thank God it's Friday. I'm so glad to see everybody in the room. And let's just say it, all of us are just reeling from the decision that just came down. Honestly, I just found out not that long ago because I was busy getting ready for everything. And I just am just so had high hopes. And now it's all panic in the disco a little bit. But I'm glad that we're here together because we do have great guests that can talk about this issue and talk about, again, when we talk about leadership in these times, that is why it's so important that when we think about moving forward, strategy, leadership, tactics, this is all part of really when we work in the grassroots and we are leaders and looking at how we really make an impact, we have to be strategic. So yes, this is an emotional day and then we can get mad, but we really super have to stay organized and strategically thinking about what the heck is what we need to do because things are moving so quickly. It feels like, you know, this decision the other day on the gun, just yesterday on the gun carry, and then this today, all I say, this has to get it to, if this doesn't get us to the ballot box or get us in some kind of this revolution really of what we need to do to take, to make sure that the next 60 years, we don't really live in darkness. It's really gonna be that serious. So with that said, Mama said, you know, Mama said, I'm gonna beat you up and we're gonna get at it today and we're gonna get through this together. And I'm so glad you're in the room. So, I'm sorry, I'm just so emotional. I know you may be feeling it too. So let me introduce myself. I'm Catherine White. I'm host. Yeah, right. What is my name, Robin? Catherine White, your host of the weekly Friday Power Lunch and the show that we love bringing you the guests, the issues, and the action in one big room. Because we are amplifying the voice of the grassroots because we like to get things done and we like to make it fun, of course. So yes, it's June 24th. Woohoo! And it's the Women's Summit kickoff tonight. I'm real excited about that. And also tomorrow in Fairfax, or the first stop of the summit is tomorrow. And I'm really stoked about that. If you didn't get a ticket, we're sold out. But we have other stops on the itinerary. Of course, in August, we'll be going to Waynesboro and Rural Valley and then down to Tidewater. And then also, you know what, even if you can't go to in person, the ticket is about being online and being in community like this. So it's never too late to get an online ticket to be in community, to take advantage of all the online programming. And more important than ever, this access to this online community where we'll be able to work together privately to really work on issues like we see today with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So that's a long introduction. But what I'd like to do before I introduce the guests is do some rules of the road today so we can get through that. Remember, this is a great room. Use the chat, communicate, any kind of nasty business. We like to toss you out, but please use it. Express yourself. This is an awesome place where you guys can communicate. Michelle McKinney, she's in the room today. She's really helped people that are new understand how to use the chat. You can message Michelle right up there. If you have any questions about what's going on, you don't understand what the heck we're doing, please ask Michelle. And also the after chat. We'll have a great after chat today. We really need to make sure we can organize together in that after chat. So please stick around for that. And of course, support the show, be a Patreon. We love our supporters. Thank you for that. That lets us keep the lights on. We really appreciate all that support. So let's get to saying that let's introduce the guests because we know that some of them aren't coming on right away, but today we will have Minority Leader Dawn Scott from Portsmouth and HD 80. And then Dan Helmer will also be on. Is any of them here today yet, Robin?
No, but Congressman Don BEYER has just arrived.
What? He's just arrived. Well,
So I'm bringing him up.
let's bring him up. Okay. Hey, Don, Congressman
Hey,
BEYER.
Catherine, I'm really early. I was coming to listen and participate, but
Well,
I'll do
we're
whatever
saying-
you want.
Well, what we do, this is our time where we say hi to you, and which is a little introduction, then we'll get to you later. But I just want to say thank you for coming, and you made it through your primary, and here we are today, and you must be flabbergasted. How are you feeling at this moment?
Discouraged right now. Looking for a way forward.
Yeah, well, you're in the right place. You're on the Friday Power Lunch. We're so happy you're here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. We will be back definitely at the 12:30 hour to speak to you. Thank you for being here, Congressman. Great to see you. And like I said, Dan Helmer is going to be here, Delegate Helmer. They're all coming back from the homestead, so they'll be tuning in from the road. But I'd love to introduce a guest that's going to be on today talking about, we're talking about winning way forward, Catherine Reed. Hello, Catherine. So great to see you.
It's great to be seen.
It's great to be seen, and what a better time to have you on the show. I mean, you're strategist, activist, advocate, speaker, trainer, and the host of 2 weekly shows. We've been on your show, Inside Scoop. And what is the other one, In the Know?
Is Your Need to Know.
Your Need to Know.
And Making Change Radio.
Making Change Radio. So what a great day. Tell us your first thoughts just hearing this news today. Where are you at?
It's devastating. Even though we all expected it, it still feels different when it's like expecting to be slapped and then you're slapped. 2 different feelings, even when you anticipate it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to talk to you later. We're going to talk about candidate running Reed for mayor, which is very exciting. But more than that, something about how we work together in the Women's Summit, all that kind of strategy that you've been as a consultant. Hey, Robin, I hear you frantic typing. It sounds like we're in that show where, the monster's chasing us and we have to hurry. But anyways, I'd like you to stick on though, because I want Fennell to come up and let's talk. Let's have a girlfriend chat. Heidi, Michelle, whoever wants to pop in, let's talk about how we're feeling real quick, couple minutes, unload. And you in the audience, chime in your chat, join please in this conversation. So Heidi, what's on your mind?
The hypocrisy of the Supreme Court really gets to me. Yesterday they had the gun law where New York can't choose their own laws, but now states can choose to control people's bodies.
Yeah, no, right. I mean, that is spot on. I saw your TikTok on that. And I was thinking that the other day too. It's like, how are we leveraging this? Either it's states have the rights or states don't have the rights. It just seems like when it works in that decision is where we're at right now. So there's no real protection in the Constitution, it feels. Fennell, what are your
So I'm mad about a whole bunch of stuff today, but a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm going to stick with abortion right now. But I think that it plays into what we're seeing with gun as well. And what I think about is, I think that we assume that people know too much, and I think that there's probably a real opportunity to really do some splaining. And what I mean by that is understanding. I think that people get really angry when they understand that 2 seats on the Supreme Court were virtually stolen and how that happened. And I think when you tell that story, that it makes people angry because they feel like they've been cheated, because we have. And I think when you have this minority that made a majority out of the Supreme Court when they didn't have the right to, is really untenable. And I think if we can find a way to tell that story in a meaningful way to every single American, rural and urban, that we have a chance to really get people excited about the fact that they can do something different. And so that's where I am. How do we demonstrate that contrast?
Well, I'll chime in. And Catherine, I think you have probably some thoughts just quickly with that. Yes, it's a good thing. The story is, when we talk about strategy and tactics, is that we were outmaneuvered on that. And I think that when you're looking at the long game, which we talk about a lot, it's like, now where do we go from here, right? We know what's happened is that we weren't paying attention to states, weren't paying attention to local elections, and then even we didn't push the narrative to voters about how important the Supreme Court was in a vote. People sat out the Hillary vote because they're more concerned about personality than they were about, boy, maybe the Supreme Court we should protect. And I think that's a lot. What's your thoughts on that, Catherine? You're a strategist, a consultant. You've dealt with nonprofits, candidates. This is what you do.
So you're right. We were just outplayed. We were completely outmaneuvered, but this has been happening for decades. And one thing I will point to, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's not going to play well for Republicans in the midterms, except that gerrymandering. And so they've already built in the winning strategy. It doesn't matter. They've already picked their voters, and they did it in plain sight. Mm-hmm. Religious freedom, the Supreme Court attacking religious freedom. This happened in the Virginia General Assembly too, taking Irene Shin's bill about not discriminating against people displaying, religious, and the governor tried to turn that around and make it something entirely different. So yes, we have been played. The filibuster, the sacred cow of the filibuster. If we've been played, what we need to look at is, going forward, how do we change the rules of the game? What is within our power to do that? Yes, at the ballot box, but in states where it's been horribly gerrymandered, we are not necessarily going to take back the Senate of the US.
Right. Structurally, you're right. This is an issue, like you said, that is already, the plan's already been baked in so many ways, right? To make our voices not count. We see that in Florida, Texas, Ohio, right?
Yeah. So let me say this, and I think that that's really good, Catherine. And so, if the strategy is already baked in, then why are we here? But what I do think
they used a strategy. They were thinking about that, right?
Yeah. But in terms of just like, since World War II, only twice has the president, whoever holds the presidency, keeps the House and the Senate. So we know that history is against us. But we know that whoever's at the top of the House should have been planning for that years ago. We should have had a plan in place to say how we're going to do that. So we don't have a plan, except today we have to figure out what we're going to do. But I just think always being the optimist that whatever is history is meant to be defied, especially if it's bad. And so the question that I have for everyone is, what is the strategy today? And so even in those places where it's been gerrymandered, what can you do? Because even though it's been gerrymandered, where there is a statewide vote, you can't gerrymander that. So my point is, What is the strategy today to move forward? And then how do we ensure that we keep the House today? And that means paying attention to every single seat. There is no seat that's less important. We have to have a strategy to say, look, it's everybody. So I just think we haven't figured it out yet, but that's what we're here for.
Well, we do have, and this is a great day because we have some of the top leaders now in the House. It'll be interesting to hear their point of view about all this. Is so important. Catherine Reed running for office, a lot of thoughts and background on this. So I'm looking forward to unpack that with Catherine. And Heidi's going to TikTok the shit out of TikTok and make sure that we tell voters and people what to do. Because I think a lot of it is going to be showing up. And, my thought is always about tactics. I'm always that kind of thinker eventually. What can we do? And, when we're, like you said, the courts now are not our friend and keeping the Constitution in a fair way. So we're up against a lot. So we do got to figure out how we do this. So Catherine, I look forward to talking to you. Everybody hold your pants on together. We're going to, like I said, it's good to be in the room. We're going to really hear some good conversation today, but I want to introduce Louisa Borowski, the lead of the Grassroots Coalition, because I know that she has going to put us to work. Hi, Louisa.
Of course, it's great to see you. I'll see if I can spotlight myself.
Spotlight yourself.
All right, done.
I know.
So it's good to see you. I'm so excited for the Women's Summit because we're going to have a chance to really break down a number of these critical issues. But I think it's also important to remember we've got elections in Virginia this year. We just figured out who the Republican opponents will be for CD2 and CD7. And it's really important to pay attention, right? We've got Jennifer Kiggins, who's going to be running in CD2. She has a similar-ish background to Elaine Luria. She has name recognition because she already serves in Virginia. It was already going to be a tight race. It's going to be a tighter race. This was definitely going to be the hardest person for Luria to beat. And if we are going to try to keep our Democratic majority in the House of Representatives coming from Virginia, we have really got to focus on, I would say for sure, the Elaine Luria race. And so I'm putting as a reminder to everyone in the chat, you can sign up to canvass with us from July 16 through 17 in Virginia Beach. It's going to be our first canvassing trip down there. There's a form to fill out and we will help you with everything. We have recommendations for where to stay. There's some opportunities to stay with local people if you can't afford a hotel. We've got to get down there and start getting these messages, as we just talked about, in front of our voters. We cannot let them forget what Republicans are doing and how their vote can really matter this fall. So we need to start working on those congressional races. The next thing to note is as the Supreme Court is going after abortion rights, they're going to go after other rights as well. And we need to be vigilant about what those are. And some of it is also, we need to support those people who are going to be attacked. And one of those areas that we've already been talking about are LGBTQ AI issues. And so I want to encourage everyone to, instead of being very angry about it, enjoy the fact that we can celebrate Pride. And it is going to be this Sunday. It's the first time we've had Pride in Loudoun County. They are so excited about this event. And so it'll be a great way to wrap up your Women's Summit weekend, is to go check out Pride in Loudoun. I put that information in the chat as well. So definitely show your love for them if you can. And then lastly, we've got two big calls to action. We are asking you to write your congressional representative and ask them to vote for the Safer Communities Act. This is the gun violence prevention bill that just passed the Senate. It's not as strong as the House, but you know what? This is better than we've had since the 1990s. We need to make sure this bill gets passed. Secondly, we're going to ask you to stop Dominion from gouging Virginians on electricity bills, and you can contact the Virginia State Corporation Commission, which is Dominion's regulator, to ask them to do that. And we've got a call to action from Clean Virginia for that I'm going to put in the chat as well. So there are ways to keep getting involved. Yes, this is not the news we wanted, but we kind of knew it was coming. And unfortunately, it happened. Fortunately, we've been planning for it. And I know we're going to have some discussions about what are those action items at the Women's Summit tomorrow.
I know that I'm wondering about that. Tomorrow was going to be all the training about this day. So now we're going to really, hopefully that's still going forward. I haven't heard otherwise, but yes. I just read an article about our Luria's and Spanberger's opponents. Like you said, both fit the bill. And there was a lot of talk about the 2018 wave that the Democrats did. And we was historic, right? That wave of women that were elected. Republicans learned from that.
Yep.
They actually did. And they went into their I guess this binder of women book they have, and they found that they've been doing a lot of this.
This has been their strategy since we had that wave, right? You saw when we had the Senate elections, the state Senate elections, yes, they ran women in the Virginia Beach area because they knew that they'd have a better chance of winning.
All of a sudden they're like, hey, there's this thing called women. We can put them. They really do. Anyways, it is, I'm being silly, but it was in the article. It was all about 2018 wave. They were using our language, studying us, only had the pictures of the opponents in the Washington Post, if anybody else saw that article. But they were saying how we created this wave, how we in this room got this wave, these women elected. So my advice to all of us is we did it and we could do it again, except we have to double down because they weren't ready for us. Now they're playing this plague book. They're going to do a lot of misinformation. And the more we get now in front of those doors and canvass, do all we can to really speak to people, we're really going to have to show up and get young people involved. This is just super serious. And yes, the Women's Summit, I'm excited about that. Tarina Keene will be speaking tomorrow. We'll have a lot of ways that we can really work together to get into action. So thank you, Louisa.
Awesome. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Don Scott's going to be here. He's
He's
here.
here. He's
I
here.
know. I saw him come in the room, so I knew he's here. And is Dan Helmer also in?
Dan is. I'm bringing him on the screen right now, and we're.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel better already. Dan's on the screen.
And Don is on the screen. There you go.
All right. Hello, Don Scott. Let's start with you. Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch.
Thank you for having me. It's interesting here. I'm still here at the homestead where we had our Democratic caucus retreat, and I didn't want to get on the road and get bad signal. So I said, before I go, let me make sure I check in with you guys.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you did, because I was going to recommend that, because I know I'm thinking you're out there in those kind of hilly places, and I thought this is going to be a wild ride. It already feels like a wild day. So I'm so glad that you were smart and you stayed at the homestead. And we also know what happens at the homestead stays at the homestead. I know the caucus was meeting, senators and delegates. I hope you all enjoyed yourself.
It was fun. It was fun. Got to have some great conversations on what we need to do to, all we're focused on right now is getting back the majority. And I hope folks understand how important it is right now. Even today, Governor Youngkin, who doesn't get it, the governor doesn't get it. He basically said that he wants to, he's leaning into this decision as he said he would. And he's doing everything in his power now to introduce a bill. He's brought, 4 extreme Republicans, 2 from the Senate, 2 from the House together to try to put a bill together. He says January to introduce a bill, but I wouldn't be surprised when we go back, because we're still in special session, that he would bring something back sooner than that. So this is the time for vigilance. This is the time for folks, whatever differences that we may have, it's time for everybody to come together, Democrats and folks who care about these issues to get this stuff resolved.
Yeah, and I want everybody in the room to know that maybe that you are Don Scott from Portsmouth, right? You also, and that is House District 80. And it's great because also the Senate Pro Tem, Senator Lucas, is from that area. So that is just a hotbed of leadership down there, a lot of sparkle and fun. You guys are really, it's really great to get to know our friends down in the 757. So let's get a chance to meet you, and then we'll bring Dan on a little bit. You made your, only 3 sessions under your belt as House Delegate. All of a sudden, many of us are saying, who is this Don Scott guy? And now he's our minority leader. He's the new leader of the caucus. So there's a lot of talk. Who is this guy? And why don't you tell us who this guy is? And let us get to know you a little bit, because you'll be our leader. We're going to rely on that bold leadership. So I'm going to let you tell me about yourself.
Well, I'll start with this. I'm a proud dad. I'm an attorney. I'm a daughter. I have a beautiful wife. My wife's a dentist in Portsmouth. We reside in Portsmouth. I've been there 16 years. I started in workforce development. I have a very, interesting history. I've gone to jail before. That's not a secret.
Right.
Did very, very, very well, continue to do well, focused on, overcome some adversity. At the end of the day, though, I understand what Virginians are going through, working families. My first job out was I was doing welding, and now I'm an attorney. You have to be able to fight. At the end of the day, I think what we forgot about right now is that we have people on the other side that they know how to fight. You can say what you want to about their position. They know how to fight, and they're not timid about what they want. And we need to understand that we can't be timid. We can't be mealy-mouthed. We can't, we have to be very bold in how we move forward and how we get things done. And I just want to make sure that, I know y'all in Northern Virginia and I'm in Hampton Roads. We're all in Virginia and we're all in the Commonwealth, and there shouldn't be any geographic rivalries, because at the end of the day, these interests go beyond where we live. The issues that we have are the same issues that you have. And we're all united on how we overcome these issues. And we saw today what happens when we just take 1 minute to take a breath and we start thinking about we've done something. Like, we didn't do anything when we got rid of Trump. We got more work to do, because if you look at it, they're probably more successful now than they were before. But back to me a little bit. I'm an attorney, but at the end of the day, I'm a trial attorney. I like fighting, and I don't like to be mealy-mouthed about it. I think there are things that we need to do. I've been blessed to have some success myself in fighting for my own self, who I felt like, I was disenfranchised. I had to get my right back to vote. I had to do some things. So I know how to bring that fight for other people that I've brought for myself. And that's what I've learned. And that's what I want to bring, that determination and grit.
I love it. I mean, you go back to school in your 50s. I know I went back in my 50s. It's not easy to do. And especially, like you said, I love, I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. I'm a fan of redemption stories, and yours is just totally inspirational. So we're glad to get to know you. And then let's talk to Dan. Helmer, Dan, great to see you. After what we heard today, I'm sure you were prepared for this moment, and you were preparing for it before this moment. Let's talk about, in the sense of leadership, we're talking about strategies and tactics. This room is concerned not about just nice little details, but what do we do? What can we count on from you and Dawn and all the leaders, Chanel Herring, Delaney, all of you? What are we doing? Let's talk about bold leadership, what it looks like, strategies, tactics moving forward.
Thanks, Catherine. First of all, I am so excited to be here with all of you and with Leader Scott. It is inspirational to know that we have smart, capable, bold leadership in the House. I know all of you know what that means, because all of you in December were knocking down the doors of your legislators saying you all need to pass a constitutional amendment here in Virginia to protect access to safe and legal abortion. And it didn't happen. But now we got new leadership, and I know Leader Scott has been out there out front saying that we are going to do this. And in fact, he forced a vote on the floor. It happened so quickly that people don't even know necessarily that it happened. But he forced a vote, made every single Republican show us where they stand last Friday to try to get an amendment into the Constitution. They all voted against it, and they showed us exactly what they want. Politicians like Glenn Youngkin don't get it. They think that they, not women, should make their own healthcare decisions. And right now, what we are doing is we are trying to build and organize. We won the majority in 19, and then everything went away. We didn't take the majority and build the infrastructure to hold the majority. I know that Leader Scott is committed, and I'm committed to working beside him to make sure that we take all of the energy and organization that groups like yours are doing, Catherine, that we take that, we build a sustainable coalition that takes us in the majority. When we look at the seats and the new maps that we have had Democrats win about 60 of them in the past. There is no reason that if we don't organize, if we don't get out there, if we don't explain what we can do and what we stand for, we know that this is a state that should not be a swing state, should not be a purple state. Our values are democratic values. Mm-hmm. And that is true in Portsmouth. It is true in Virginia Beach. It is true in Northern Virginia. It is true throughout the Commonwealth. And so what we are going to be doing, and we are working together to do, is make sure that every single Virginian knows what's on the line, that they understand that we know what it means. Nobody knows more than Leader Scott knows what it means to be able to struggle to put food on the table, to make ends meet. He's been incredibly successful, but he didn't start that way. We know what it means when we're afraid to send our kids to school because some wahoo might show up with a gun because these assholes are too scared of the gun lobby to go ahead and take them on. We know what it means when my wife, who after our second son developed a heart condition, she was told she has another kid, she could die. We know what it means when the governor is walking around saying that he thinks it should be his decision whether she gets to live or die, not her own. And so I think we need to get that message out there. We need to organize, we need to fight, and I'm really excited to be here with you.
Yeah, no, we're all in the game here, and that's what tomorrow we have the Women's Summit, and it's just the start, and it's just a way that we really need to. It's all about getting together. You have to organize. Organizing is hard. It's not easy, right? You can talk, but organizing takes time. It's sort of sometimes annoying because building coalitions is not easy. And so I'm glad that you're at the helm, Mr. Helmer, with the leader to get us going, because we do. Now there's this new lawsuit back again about this House district races. And I want to hear from you all that we're ready to run. Oh, Fennell's popping in because she has a question, but go ahead. So go ahead, Fennell.
Well, really, thank you. I'm so excited to see you guys here today, both of you. I really wanted to hear a little bit about this approach when you were talking about you want every single Virginian to know. I'm really curious about what that looks like.
Yeah, we want to plan.
I mean,
ahead,
I don't think we're gonna give y'all the full plan today on this call, but understand that what we're doing now is building the infrastructure to put it in place. We can't take anybody for granted. I mean, working families across the entire Commonwealth, there were some jurisdictions that we did not go into, some localities that we did not go into. And what we're doing is we're demoralizing those voters. We're demoralizing those people that share our values. Just because the numbers aren't there in some of these districts don't mean we go to them. Doesn't mean that they might not travel to districts where they can make a difference. We have to do more. We're working with the Rural Ground Game. I've been talking to them. I talked to them today. We're doing some things that I don't think that have ever been done before. We really have to not take anybody for granted. The governor lost by 60,000 votes, less than 2%. I mean, we had a small margin. We lost the House majority by about 200 votes. We lost 2 districts, one by 64, another by a little more than 150 or so. We cannot take these voters for granted. We have to get out. We have to be in the field. And part of that is building our infrastructure, understanding where our majorities are. We've done it, as Dan said earlier. We know that we can win the majority without Trump. There are some who say the only reason we won the majority is because of Trump, but I believe that's not the case. So I know that we can do a better job.
Well, I think you answered the question, so that's really good. I love that. And just my own little thing, I don't think Trump ever left, but that's another story.
Thank you.
Well, his policies hadn't left. I mean, you have to admit, the Supreme Court that he put on right now just delivered a generational win. And so we have to take that into account. And folks, if you don't believe that they're going to do for what they said was any substantive due process case, it's up for grabs. So that's Griswold, which decided that women have reproductive freedom. It used to be that a man had to give a woman permission to go and get contraceptives. That's the Oberfeld case, the gay marriage case. They felt like that may have been decided incorrectly. There are several cases now that are up for grabs. Hell, we don't know if they're going to go back and look at Brown versus Board of Education. We don't know what their goals are, because they told us that they believe in that whole conversation around states' rights. So if you are not ready to put up a fight here in Virginia right now because of what you see, then this is not the time for us to have some of the arguments that we've had amongst ourselves about how we move forward. Like they say, there are no atheists in foxholes. We're in the foxhole right now. We got to have each other's back, and this is the time to start fighting.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'd like to have a question posed and follow up with both of you about the getting ready for these seats, because I'm about what we're really making sure we're planning. What I like what Dan had talked about was looking forward when you were thinking about that constitutional amendment. And that's the kind of leadership and thinking we need. We need to think now what may be coming. For instance, that lawsuit in Florida that the Jewish organization now put forward about freedom of religion, there is some different kind of strategies going on where people are saying, okay, what can we do that's going to shake things up a little bit, and sort of taking on these positions, for instance. So Dan, in your mind right now, when you're thinking about these 100 seats, if all of a sudden the court decides that we're going to run, what can we do, and what does this look like? I'm going to badger you a little bit about it, because I want to make sure that we're on it, that we're going to be ready, because we can win it. We can win the House back.
Yeah, absolutely. So Catherine, the leadership team has reached out to every single district that we know is competitive right now. We have competitive primaries lined up and ready. Those folks are expecting at this point to run in 2023, but there is not a single district that we need to win in order to take the majority where we will not field a Democratic candidate. We are talking closely to the congressional campaigns to make sure that they are already launching their coordinates, right? So if you imagine the map for us does overlap almost 100% the maps for the 2nd, the 7th, and the 10th. So we are really closely aligned there. So there are already coordinated campaigns in place. Leader Scott and I and Delegate Delaney and the chair have all been working on building a fundraising network, because we know that we're going to need to invest in these races. So I mean, we are ready. We are ready to go the moment that it happens. And of course, we're here speaking to you because we know that the moment that it does happen, if this case does get decided, that we're going to need to turn it on. We're going to be out there knocking doors. And, everybody jokes that we do it every year in Virginia. Well, now we're going to do it every year for the House of Delegates, potentially for 2 years. But we are ready. And we know that our values carry us to a majority. And so if we're out there, we're speaking our values, we're knocking doors, we're going to win. And we've lined up the infrastructure to do that.
I love it. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear, because I really believe that's the key to winning, because we have the congressional, we have the Senate races coming up too, the local races and the House. So for that coalition kind of intersects and we start knocking those doors now, it's just going to benefit everybody, that everybody works together, right? Right. That's one thought. So on my mind, so I'm glad to hear that. And any last words, because we got to wrap up. We have the congressman on.
Catherine, I just had one quick question for them. It's just more of a statement. Just, are you guys prepared to spend money?
Oh, I'm raising money. I've been on as a leader now for what? This is the 24th. So 24 days. I've had an exciting 24 days. I'm raising money. We have other members that are raising money. We have to raise money. That is the way that we communicate to our voters, to let them know what's going on. We're going to spend money. And I can tell you this, I won't have a dime left when it's over. I don't have any other aspirations other than us getting back the majority. So everything that I'm doing, I'm traveling. I've been up to Northern Virginia at least 3 times. I'm headed back to Richmond now to meet with some folks. I'm meeting with Senator Kaine today. I'm meeting with some other folks. So we have to do what we need to do to get the majority. We have to raise dollars. I'm going out to California next month. I'm going to Oregon the month after that, because people are watching Virginia right now. We are a bellwether. There was a lot of disillusionment when we lost the House majority from across the country, because they thought we had Virginia locked in. Now we have to start over again, almost to climb back up the hill. And as some of my Army buddies say, like, Dan, I'm Navy, but Dan was Army. Acquisition, maintenance is more difficult than acquisition. So it's easy to get it. Can you keep it? And this time we have to put in the infrastructure and do the hard everyday work, speaking to constituents, keeping our activists inspired and motivated so that we can keep the majority this time. And that's what we intend to do.
Great, thanks.
And Catherine, I'll leave you with one last note, which is, we all know what this governor's about. He's a rich hedge fund guy who is uninterested in what happens in our daily lives. He doesn't get it. And we need to make sure all Virginia knows that he doesn't get it. So let's get out there and make sure that folks understand he doesn't get it, and the House Democrats do, and we need to back him.
I saw your hashtag, he doesn't get it. Right, so good. All right, so, but you guys do get it, and I'll let you get going. And I know that I'll see you tomorrow, Dan, at the Women's Summit. Thank you, Dan Helmer, delegate from HD 40. And thank you, new leader, Don Scott. Down in the homestead, driving home to Portsmouth. Great to have you on. Great to meet you. It's our really first time meeting. I did see you at the gala briefly, but this is great to have you on the show. Thank you for coming. And I know that Don, thank you guys. And we need to go to our next lineup because Don BEYER has to leave. And I want to make sure that we get Don on the screen. See you later. Safe trip home, Don. Safe trip home.
All right, take care. Thank you all for having me. Bye.
Yeah, so let's get Don BEYER up because I want, Colleen is making sure that those votes are taking place on the floor and Don has to get busy. Hello, I just feel again like that Panic in the Disco feeling, Congressman. So what's your take on, one, let's talk about activism, what you've seen in Virginia, where we're, from 2018, we had the historic win of Luria and Spanberger and Wexton. Here we are, full circle again, right? So what's your take on that? And how are we going to make sure that we get these ladies over the finish line?
Well, Catherine, Louisa Stair, thanks for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here again. And the bell has not rung yet, so I have some time, which is great.
Good.
Although it is exciting, we have one more vote this morning, and this is on the bipartisan gun safety bill, which is thin, right? It's not what we want, but it's the first bill in 28 years that's moved us in the right direction.
That's great.
And we've been doing our best not to trash it because it's insufficient. Let's pass it, put it on Joe Biden's desk, and then turn our attention tomorrow to doing actually much more meaningful gun safety bills. But, including boyfriends and domestic violence and
Yes,
and
important.
doing background checks for the kids trying to buy assault weapons and stuff. These are they're not big things, but we need to celebrate them.
Can I ask you a question about that? I mean,
Yeah.
the conversation is then you have this this bipartisan moment where it's been long time coming. And then the Supreme Court does that decision with the state rights. And then it feels like progress. And then it feels like this also opens up more of a floodgate for guns.
Yeah, it's definitely, there was probably more movement in the wrong direction than the right direction this week because of the court.
Right.
I'm excited. I've got a bill on an excise tax on assault weapons, which could move in July.
I love that. That's a smart to see. That's a smart way to think about something, what you did. Explain that bill to everybody.
Well, right now with the filibuster, which is not a rule, not a lot of law, just a stupid tradition used to hold back progressive initiatives. You need 60 votes in the Senate, unless it qualifies for quote unquote reconciliation. And reconciliation was something that Senator Robert Byrd put in on budget measures. So we just made guns about budget by putting in a tax, 1,000% tax. So a $2,000 assault weapon would now cost $22,000. And among other things, well, it's not a ban. It doesn't jeopardize the Second Amendment. And there are very few 18-year-olds who can afford a $22,000 assault weapon. So and plus it only needs 50 votes plus Kamala Harris. Now, 50 votes isn't automatic. You still have Joe Manchin and John Tester and others, but it's a lot closer than 60 votes.
Is it on ammunition or just the guns?
Yeah, it's ammunition also, both assault weapons and high capacity magazines.
Well, I like that you're thinking outside the box, and we talked today about winning way forward and strategy tactics. I think these are the kind of thinking we have to have, since some of the power, the levers aren't working. We're not getting, I feel like, fair justice sometimes with some of these court decisions that are really should be protecting our constitutional rights, so we have to be creative, right?
And Catherine, let me think inside the box for a minute too. Okay. After doing politics, first of all, thank you for helping me get reelected. That's not personal to Catherine. It's like to everybody. This is the most important, meaningful job I've ever had, and it's a great honor to have it. And I'm glad I get to do it for another 2 years. But part of that is I was just over at the Supreme Court half an hour ago with a bunch of my colleagues, protesting the awful Roe v. Wade decision. And it comes back again and again to the fact that in a democracy, however tragically flawed ours is, we still have to win elections. And when we put good governors, good senators, good presidents, in place, good mayors, we get a different outcome. I'm not as pessimistic as many are about holding the House this year. We have 36 frontline members, our three wonderful women, Jennifer, Abigail, Elaine. Every one of them has won twice already in difficult situations. They have a $100 million cash advantage right now. They are smart, tough candidates. I think it's our responsibility in Virginia to make sure that Abigail, Elaine, and Jennifer all win and win handsomely. But then the others, I think, we'll give as much money as we can and do as many events as we can for the ones around the state. But then just throw away stuff that you need to know. There's 12 seats held by Republicans right now that we can win that have Democratic performance way north of 50%. The one, David Valadao in California, that's a Democratic performance of 57%. We can win that. There are 4 open seats that are now held by GOP, but they're retiring, whatever. Right. That Biden won handsomely. There's 3 new Biden seats. And there's just no reason for us to lose the House. And Nancy Pelosi says it's nuclear. Yes, it's only been once in our lifetimes, only 2002. But, the curses are meant to be overcome. And then on the Senate side, which is where I really, really care, even though I'm a House member, we got to get rid of that stupid filibuster that holds back everything. And we can win in North Carolina with Sherry Beasley. We can win in Pennsylvania with John Fetterman. Tim Ryan can beat that evil J.D. Vance. I don't know who the Wisconsin nominee will be, but we can beat Ron Johnson. And having 53, 54 senators, they should get rid of the filibuster on the second day.
Right.
And one other really interesting piece is, we've had a 3, 4, 5 seat margin now for 4 years. And Nancy Pelosi's leadership, Steny Hoyer, we passed 700 bills. If the Republicans have a 3-seat margin, they can't pass anything because they got Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Chip Roy, all these guys that are nutty. It's the Freedom Caucus. They need 30-vote margin to pass anything.
Right.
And they can't.
That's a good point.
And one more thing, we've got, as you pointed out earlier in the show, we win elections at the federal level when we first win them at the state and local level. And making sure that we take back the Virginia House and build on our 1-seat Senate margin. This is where we got rid of the death penalty. This is the way we made absentee ballot. This is the way we did all these wonderful things that moved Virginia really forward. Youngkin's trying to move us back. If we want to codify Roe v. Wade in Virginia, we need a strong General Assembly to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just at that. So I know I'm like a carpenter with a hammer seeing everything as a nail, but it's about elections. And that means that everywhere we have to be the bravest people we can be. And Catherine, one last point. When I ran 8 years ago against a bunch of really good people, Laverne Chapman and Bill Ewell and Charnel Herring and Patrick Hope, only 38,000 people showed up. In this last election, where I wasn't making money calls and we didn't go on TV, we just ran grassroots. I think Victoria did too. We had 50,000 people show up. I mean, 12,000 more than in a hotly contested race. And that just shows the power of grassroots organizing and why what you do is so really important. And I know we're going to spend stupid amounts of billions of dollars on these races in 2022, but I keep pushing and saying, let's spend the bulk of it on turning out voters and inspiring them to show up, because that's where
it's them and their vote, and they have to feel like their vote matters. And that is so important when we do this outreach, and we need to do more of it, because I think that really makes a difference. And so I'm glad you're here today, because it wouldn't be the same without the congressman. You're usually in person, but tomorrow I know you cannot attend the Women's Summit. So thank you for coming on today. We made sure that we got you and Congressman Conley on today. He'll come later in a video. He couldn't come in person, but he may, but we're sorry you can't be there tomorrow, but thank you for coming today. We so appreciate your leadership, and we definitely need to get these congresswomen elected. So we'll lean on you for sure. Thank you, Congressman BEYER.
Thanks, Catherine, very much. And thanks for the pass on the family wedding. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the family wedding. Yeah. No, you betcha. Thank you so much. And thank you to Colleen Brown, who is always so generous and helping us get you on the show. So thank you for that. And I'd like to go right since, thank you, Congressman BEYER. And we'll wait for Jerry a little bit later. I would like to get started with Catherine Reed. The hour's going so fast, and I know we have so much to talk about. Catherine Reed, talk about this local level stuff. How exciting. Let's go back to talk about you, host of several shows on Fairfax Access, Inside Scoop, Need to Know, also just a consultant and strategist throughout your life of what's it called? Read, Think, and Create, your whole brand.
Very close. Read, Think, Act. And I'm looking at what's going on in the chat. And there's
tell
so
us
many
what's
people.
Going on. Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat, and there are names of people there that I have worked with since Obama in 2008. I mean, we have a core group of committed people. We've got new people. I met you, right after the Trump tragedy. And I think this Supreme Court is going to create another type of wave, because young people especially, I think, were not paying attention and did not really think that this could happen. And so I think you're going to find just people who weren't in the fight after Trump getting in the fight. And I think that's really important. I'm running for mayor here in the city of Fairfax, and I made the decision to do that 2 weeks ago. And, you're like, why? Because there was only one candidate, and he is a Republican. He is, in fact, I'm gonna
let's dish on it.
Let's
Tell
dish
us-
on it.
Give us the inside scoop, because you also, I want to know about your opponent, and also going back to the city of Fairfax, just in general, what an interesting little town you're in, and it's not like every other.
Oh my goodness, it is not. So it
Go
was
ahead.
incorporated. So in the chat, I have put a link to a Twitter post that shows you who my opponent is, Sang Yi. And he is a Republican who works on the Hill. He ran as a Republican against David Bulova in 2015. You know, the city likes to pride itself on being nonpartisan. That is just a group delusion that a lot of people here persist in pushing forward. But that is over, because May elections are over. The legacy of May municipal elections was given to us by Harry Byrd, the architect of voter suppression. And anybody who doesn't understand how we got here really needs to understand history, because getting rid of the May municipal elections, which the General Assembly did 2 years ago, means that we are not carving out this little niche of educated older white people as the only people who vote. So when I ran in 2012, I came in 7th in a 6-person at-large race. And the next year, in 2013, the largest abortion clinic in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which was located in Fairfax City, needed to move because of trap laws that were being put into place. They were defeated, by the way, and that was the work of NARAL Pro-Choice Virginia, where I was on the PAC board for several years, the work of Planned Parenthood in Virginia. They needed to move. And the city council voted that they had to apply for a special use. And ultimately, the location they wanted to move to didn't have enough parking spaces. And the city council voted that they could not have use of that. So zoning is a weapon. Again, if people don't understand redlining and covenants and all white neighborhoods, you know, the city of Fairfax was incorporated in 1961. Why is that significant? Because it was massive resistance. I've always said that our city was run by the board of directors of an all-white country club, a gated all-white country club. And you don't have to look far. Walk into our city council chambers and look at the pictures of all the white men who've been mayor of the city of Fairfax for 61 years. Because it's just a wall of black and white pictures of white men. That is not a flaw for the city. It's been a feature. Taking away May elections and forcing the mayor, the city council, and we have our own school board, which a lot of people don't realize, you know, see footnote on massive resistance earlier. That's a legacy. That's a legacy school board. You know, if you don't understand history, then you don't understand how we got here. And so forcing these elections into November for the very first time in the city's history means that the voters, and less than 20% of registered voters in Fairfax have ever voted for local elections in the history of the city. So the electorate is bigger going into midterms. I think more people are going to show up for midterms because of the situation and understanding, that you need to care about returning Jerry to Congress here in the 11th CD. And so this is where we are. And I think the gloves are off. You know, Sang Yi is funded by Republican organizations and Republicans. He's got $91,000. And that was as of the last reporting. Right. So by the time everybody reports out for June 30th, he'll probably have well into the 6 figures. But I don't care. Going back to what Don BEYER just said, I'm going to run a grassroots, people-powered, very homemade campaign. I refuse to let him decide how we are going to play this game.
Yeah, and Catherine, and we know local elections are really where it's at, and state is where power is in most people's lives. These are very important roles. So being in that position, what we are seeing is just this really attack on from public schools, from the school board level, from Commonwealth attorneys, this local level where we're seeing this really big attack on wanting those positions of power because they do influence your life, and using zoning or different, rules. This is going to be very important to our well-being to make sure we have local people elected like yourself when we're coming up against some really big things at the federal level and across the nation. Having people in power at the local level is going to become really, really important. What are your thoughts?
I think the other thing too is that the zoning was changed several years after. An abortion clinic has the opportunity to open in Fairfax City because there's certain sections of the city that is zoning by right. But nobody knows that. And we've never had a clinic apply to open in the city. You know, we sit next to one of the largest universities in the Commonwealth, right? So from 2006 to 2013, that clinic was the largest in all of Virginia. And now it doesn't exist anymore. The other thing we don't have here is a Pride event. You know, in Northern Virginia, used to hold a Pride event in Bryan Reach. You know, one person, he did it out at Bull Run Park year after year after year. But we don't really have a Pride organization that does that. Right. So we have a very successful Asian American festival that started here, has been incredibly successful. We have a large Korean American population here in Fairfax, very large population. But, you know, one of my goals is that, you know, we need to do more, like the city should be hosting a Pride event in June. Like, so you don't get that in your community unless you elect people who prioritize that.
Right. No, I think it definitely is. It's going to be great to have you right up the street from me. I know that. So I'll be definitely all on board to help. And I think people should know, not only in your background, the kind of civic engagement service you have done, being on the board of so many great organizations from NARAL, and I had the list in front of me here. It's been
Equality Virginia.
Equality Virginia. Yes. Sorry, I'm digging deep here on my notes, but you can help me out with that. It's just been a crazy day, but that's impressive to me. Also, when we got our start, you gave us the platform to come on your show and interview us. I was looking at that today, 2017. It was hysterical to see us 2018, 2019, 20. Here we are in our 6th annual Women's Summit. Catherine Reed, thank you so much. Today's been quite a day. I'm glad we have been able to share it with you and your insight. And it is all about really strategizing, being a smart leader, and thinking forward, especially when you're going to be leading your city. I'm determined you will be the next mayor. So.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the support of everybody on this call. These power lunches are wonderful. And Network Nova has moved the needle forward. You guys really are responsible for the strides that have been made all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I'm glad that you hung in there and continued to grow.
Yeah, it's all about communication. And that's all we want is stay together, communicate. And that's part of organizing makes you successful. Catherine Reed, thank you so much. I'll see you at the Women's Summit and probably see you at the Supreme Court at some point. I'm sure we'll be out there doing a little bit of everything. So thank you. And I see that we have Han Jones in the room. I don't know if Han would like to come on, and please, thank you. I'm glad you came in. I saw you come in the room. I'm like, I said to my team, let's get her. I said to the team, I said, let's get Han on. I know that's why you're here.
Yeah, I just know that there's such a great group of supporters here.
Let's go. Yeah, we came in this room totally reeling and unbelievably pissed off and crazy. And we knew it was coming, but it still feels so terrible, right? So tell us what's going on, what we can do, and what's our strategy.
Yeah, so as I'm sure everyone saw this morning, both the Roe v. Wade and the case associated Casey v. Planned Parenthood case, those precedents that have protected abortion rights for decades are gone. And that means that all of these decisions about whether or not abortion is legal is going to go to the state level. And that's really scary for a lot of people. About 13 states are going to lose their rights pretty much overnight. And here in Virginia, abortion is still legal. I really want to make sure that I'm clear about that. It is still legal here in Virginia, but unfortunately, we are so close to that not being true. As I'm sure many people here know, Governor Youngkin is not exactly friendly towards abortion rights. We saw that he tried to pass a really harmful budget amendment just last week. We also know that we have a Republican House of Delegates that is anti-abortion. They voted party line on every piece of legislation we've seen. And in the state Senate, we know that there is one seat. We are one seat away from Virginia being like so many other states that are about to lose their abortion rights. So I think that there's a few things we all need to do. I think we need to show up, we need to vote, we need to get active. These politicians that we elect to our legislature are going to make the decisions on whether or not we have abortion rights. Local elections matter now more than ever. The other thing I will say is that we need to show clearly now that we do not accept this, that this is not okay. I saw someone dropped the Fairfax, that there's a Fairfax event tonight. I'm also dropping a few other events that are happening in Nova, in Richmond, wherever you are. We really hope to see you come out and join us and make your voices heard. A really good show of force here can show the politicians here in Virginia that if they come for our rights here in Virginia, we will vote them out. Right. And that's a really important thing to show right now.
What do you think you're thinking of? I mean, we're still in special session. Are you worried about, I was worried when somebody was on vacation, not having all the numbers there. Or what are we really thinking forward, thinking ahead, thinking every which way that something bad could happen?
Yeah. I don't think we know exactly what could happen. I know that right now, because of our majority in the state Senate, we're still, for the most part, okay. We were able to defeat that budget amendment we were so worried about, and we were very nervous because, like you said, we were down a senator. But we are hopeful that we'll be able to stave off any attacks for right now, though that is only going to be possible if people keep making clear that they will vote out politicians that do that. We need to put political pressure on them. They need to hear from us.
Is there anything we could do in the federal level? I think they said about securing some of this abortion, the pills, the different things that are happening, that you feel that is going to be helpful?
I mean, yes, absolutely. I think, again, I want to stress that here in Virginia, you're still good. You can make an appointment. But yes, and access is going to be really important, right? And that's one of the reasons that it's so wonderful that we have telehealth and telemedical abortion. It really provides a lot of access for people. And I got a bunch of questions in my chat about those protests I posted. Those are, yes, today. That's tonight. We're showing up to show that this was not acceptable.
Yeah, we won't be able to we'll be at the Rowan Tree starting our kickoff, but my feeling is this is the long game. So we're going to stick in our plan. We got tomorrow, the Women's Summit. And I think we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
In that workshop. I think doing that strategy and the thoughtfulness about how we're really going to plan is what we really need to do, and how we're going to show up, and really being strategic about it's going to be important. And first, it's going to be to really show up at these elections. And if we blow out of the water, that's the first kind of shot at, like, this isn't acceptable. It isn't, I mean, talking on all levels, right? The levels of all these decisions that have just seemed like taken so many rights away or made things so unstable. And we're a democracy across the world that people admire. I don't think that's the case this morning. I think people are worried about what's happening to America, who is in control, this religious right that's almost like a theocracy, wanting us to turn into a different kind of country. That's not freedom. And that's not why people, why we have this different constitution than any country in the world. If they wanted to make a theocracy, they would have. They didn't. It's a reason. I'm giving on my soapbox, but that's how it is. All right, Han. Thank you. Hold up. I know you guys must be just overwhelmed. Thank you for coming on to be on the Power Lunch. Thank you to everybody in the room. And we should show Jerry's video. It's a great video. Even though it's a video, it's awesome. So if we're going to show that, and then we'll go to the after chat, and we'll run credits right through. So first I'll say thank you to the guests. Thank you, Catherine Reed, Congressman BEYER, Delegate Don Scott, Delegate Don Helmer, for coming in the room. We're going to show the video, then we'll roll credits. We want you to know that we will not be here next Friday, July 1st. We'll have 4th of July vacation, and we'll also be planning different stuff for the Women's Summit. So we'll be taking that Friday off next week. We'll be doing the Women's Summit this weekend, and we will have online programming. If you have your ticket, get ready for some great online workshops that we have in the what do you call it? In the makes. Very excited. We'll launch those soon. So let's see Jared. Let's see Congressman Conley, roll credits, and then see y'all in a couple of weeks, and see you at the summit.
Good afternoon. It's great to be back on the Power Lunch. I wish I could be with you live and in person, but as you know, we're currently voting on the bipartisan Senate gun bill on the House floor, and I know you don't want me to miss that. First, a thank you to Network Nova and Stair, Robin, and Catherine, and all of you for everything you've done to elect Democrats up and down the ballot these past 5 years. When we gathered on the Mall that cold day in January for the Women's March, we knew we were in for dark times. On that day, I don't think any of us expected Donald Trump to launch an insurrection against the Capitol or the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. But we knew we needed to be girded for battle because together we could fight back. And together we have. We took back the Virginia House of Delegates and elected the first women speaker in the history of Virginia. We took back the Senate and began to enact progressive legislation, all because of your wonderful grassroots work. Here in Virginia, we elected 3 new women to the Congress and helped to take back the majority in the House of Representatives. Our Democratic majority has improved the lives of each and every American and people around the world. We've gotten vaccinations to every American who wants one, and we're finally vaccinating our littlest. We reopened the economy, and we set records for low unemployment and high GDP growth. We got checks to families who needed them the most. We saved the post office and passed the largest investment in clean energy and the environment in U.S. history. But our majority, as you know, is precarious. We need you to take the same energy you brought in 2017 and 2018 and 2020 back. Despair is not a luxury we can afford. If we grow our majority in the House and the Senate, think of all of the things we can accomplish. Codifying Roe v. Wade into law, universal background checks before buying a gun, marijuana decriminalization, and finally ratifying the ERA and voting rights protections. All of these have passed the House of Representatives, and I've been a proud co-sponsor of each and every one of those bills. But they've languished in the Senate under the filibuster rule. If we grow a majority, we can continue to investigate the scandals and crimes of Donald Trump. The revelations of the January 6th Special Committee have been shocking, laying out a clear case of multiple felonies by Donald Trump in his attempted coup to overturn a free and fair election and its results. If Republicans win the majority, the first thing they'll do is to dissolve that commission and complete the cover-up. We cannot afford to let that happen. We need you on the doors, making the phone calls, writing the postcards, and doing everything you can to help elect Democrats in 2022. And not just in federal office. Next, you're going to hear from my friend Catherine Reed. Catherine is running to be the first female mayor of the city of Fairfax, and I'm proud to support her in her endeavor. I love local government because there's accountability at that level of government. People know if crime went up or down. They know if trash got picked up or it didn't. They know if the schools are working or they're not. Local government is about getting things done. But anyone who tells you it's nonpartisan is not really telling the full truth. When you're closing abortion clinics, it's not nonpartisan. When you're renaming Confederate streets, schools, and mascots, it's not nonpartisan. When you're setting the tax rate to determine if you can invest in our schools, it's not nonpartisan. So again, thank you for all you do to elect Democrats. Let's prove the pundits wrong and go out and win this year to save democracy and to make for a better world for our children and their children. Thank you so much.